I have two alligator lizards in the animal room. This guy right here is Raptor, and Raptor has his own tank. And in today's video, I'm actually going to be taking down Raptor's tank. And I also wanted to go over kind of why I made Raptor's tank the way I did, and go over the tank before it gets completely switched to be a rubber boa enclosure. So this tank is a padularium build, and usually you wouldn't have a lizard in a padularium build, but with alligator lizards, I found these guys. So these guys are both wild caught, and I actually found them along a creek in the mountains near where I live. And what they were doing was they were running into the creek anytime anyone on the path got close to them. And that's kind of how they were hiding away. And after doing more research into alligator lizards, that's actually a very common thing that they'll do, is use the water. And after doing a little bit of research, I saw that you can have or not that you can have, but they would recommend a tank with a water bowl that they can get in and out of and submerge themselves. And I kind of took that to another level, making it a waterfall padularium tank. And another reason for that is I really like watching the lizards interact with water. That's what I really liked about seeing these guys in the wild. And one of the main reasons I actually wanted to keep them as a pet was how they interacted with water. I wanted to quickly go over the tank just in case anyone kind of wanted to do something similar. If anyone owns a northern alligator lizard, I know that these lizards might be more selective to my area because I'm able to go out and get them. I don't think they're too common in the pet trade, but anyways. So I made a waterfall feature here that has pond liner underneath it, and underneath the waterfall is actually a lot of dry soil. And I wanted to include a good amount of dry soil just in case the northern alligator lizard wanted to burrow. It ended up not ever really wanting to burrow. It seems that these lizards like to be up a little bit higher, which is why I am switching this lizard into the 30-gallon tank in the hallway. Another thing about this tank is behind here, I have a piece of cork bark that is expanded foamed into the side, and it actually goes all the way down to the bottom of the tank. The reason I made the last video was to kind of show the same blueprint that I do for all of my tanks. I always use this gaps and cracks expanding foam unless I don't need it in a build, and a lot of hardscape. So I have a lot of cork bark into the sides that I just pressed into the foam for this build. I actually used a pre-cut foam here, a piece of cork bark, and then more foam around the sides to separate the water area here from the area behind here that has all of the land and dirt. But with all this talk about how the alligator lizards interact with water, they also really like having a lot of space to climb, and this tank was always meant to be a temporary tank. So one thing about alligator lizards is they really like spots to climb, and the tank that I've recently made in my last video, or actually 2 videos ago by now, is really perfect for them. So I'm gonna have this guy and a couple of my frogs from my 40-gallon padularium tank here, and I'm going to be putting all of those guys into the 30-gallon tank in the hallway. So because of all of the stuff that happened with these 2 tanks, where I had the AC go out and it wiped out a bunch of stuff, I actually am not going to be spending money on a new reptile for that tank yet. I'm going to wait. So in the meantime, I'm going to give that tank to the alligator lizard and some of the frogs and some other species in this tank, so it's less overcrowded, and I can kind of spot feed everyone a little easier this way, so I can get everyone kind of dispersed, because I just want to make sure that everyone is doing well, and I don't always see all my frogs, and I love them. So putting them in the other tank is going to be a really nice change for them. The reason this tank ended up with as many frogs as it did was all of the breeding that happened, and all of the tadpoles that came up from the water, and eventually I just ended up with a lot of frogs. So I've been dispersing them, but in today's video I'm going to take some out just so I can make sure everyone else is getting enough food. As you know, in a cohab tank you always kind of worry about that, but I've been working a lot with it and I love this tank. I would love to make a whole video just talking about it and everything that went into actually having this tank up now, because this tank wasn't just something I haphazardly threw together. It was a long time of introducing species to different other species and making sure that things would work. And I finally found a way where everyone's really been super happy in this tank. But I just want to make sure everyone's getting fed, so that's why I'm going to kind of disperse some of the species in this tank, put them out in the hallway with my alligator lizard. And alligator lizards in the wild don't actually prey upon adult-sized frogs. And as I've watched them in this tank and in other tanks, I've also kept them with just one frog for a while, making sure. But I've never seen any sign that they would go after one. These alligator lizards are actually only 4 inches long when they get as big as they can get. And they don't really eat anything bigger than insects. They're mainly insectivores, and kind of the only thing that could be on the menu is a baby frog or a tadpole, and I don't really keep those guys. I try to get those guys out as quickly as possible, so I don't really worry about the alligator lizards hurting my frogs, but I do always make sure that everything's going well, of course. This is the tub I've been keeping my rubber boa gummy worm in, and gummy worm's been doing amazing. He's eaten for me twice. I actually don't know the gender of this rubber boa, but I'm really excited to get him in this new tank. It's going to be planted. I'm not going to change too much about it, but I will show the build in this video. As you can see, I kept this build almost entirely the same. I had some extra plants left over from a scape I recently took down, and that's what I used to kind of fill in all of the extra space. I took out the waterfall feature, as this tank is not going to need anything like that. I do have a water bowl and a food bowl that I put in the bottom of the tank, but it was just not shown here. The rubber boa is a species of boa that really likes to dig, and they live a lot of their life underground. So a lot of this time, this box is just here to look pretty, and I won't actually see my rubber boa that much. Another thing with this snake digging a lot is he could uproot some of the plants, and I don't mind. I would rather him make the tank how he wants it than keep it how I want it, if that makes sense. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Left, come on. And, okay. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video, and we will see you guys next time.